unbelievably horrible. And I'm supposed to embrace all that. I can't stand a black thug or a white thug. They all act just the same. They're all arrested development, crazed looks in their eyes, little kids, think they're tough, attack you. When you start banging their head in the concrete, they always cry for their mama. It's like that movie Spring Break with Franco in it, or whatever his name is. That's really how that is. It's disgusting. And I grew up around it. And now it's spreading all over the country. And illegitimacy and the imprisonment. We're just converting to absolute animals, folks, across the board. I mean, what does it say that the main civil rights leader in this country is not somebody like Martin Luther King? It's Al Sharpton. I mean, a guy who wore purple leisure suits and weighed 400 pounds and was an FBI informant, coke dealer. I mean, what a joke. I mean, you know, but just take no responsibility. Let me tell you something. Winners, real winners, cannot be held down. Now, the CIA, you want to talk about what's really holding blacks back? Did, because it was seen as acceptable by white racists in police departments and the FBI to ship drugs into black communities and to let prostitution, gambling, and all be in the black community, run by Italian, Jewish, Irish, and WASP mafias. But they would run it in the black communities because whites wouldn't put up with it. And they would go into a bad black area, not a big Christian upper-class black area, but they'd go into the poor black areas, and they'd set up shop. So that's where a lot of that seed of that culture came from. So, yes, the white man actually did engineer it and is to blame. Here's the news flash. I didn't do anything. I'm not part of it. Most whites were against slavery. We fought a civil war over it. We reversed it. England was the country with Christians that started banning slavery worldwide and invaded parts of Africa and invaded the Middle East to make Arabs stop selling black people. And I'm not bashing Arabs. Don't blame them today. It's just a fact. So that's the reality. Germans weren't freed in some areas of Germania, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, until the 1880s. Do you hear Germans that have a German surname that's linked to that whining? They don't even remember it or know or care. A lot of my ancestors came over here as sharecroppers. Do you hear me talking about it? It is a mindless chip on the shoulder. You add fluoride, vaccines into the mix, you just have a brain-damaged public. I mean, it comes down to that. And so this is social engineering. And if you go back to the Great Society, on the graph in the 60s, that's when the decline of the black community and the rest of the country starts. Because I've got so much news to get to. I will open the phones up for people that disagree with me in the first 30 minutes of the next hour. Then David Knight is joining us with some of the most bombshell testimony ever of the most vicious child abuse you can imagine. We've interviewed a nurse, and it's on record up until 5 years ago, they would not give premature babies vaccines. They would not give pregnant women vaccines. Now we have eyewitnesses to where they know that it's basically maiming and killing them, and they say, get ready to get the trauma unit, the emergency unit in here, get ready to try to save their life. They follow the order, they give them the shots, the baby starts dying on the table in front of them. This is human sacrifice. This is leading children up to idols and throwing them into fiery pits. This is following orders unto death. And the inserts said until 5 years ago, do not give it to a pregnant woman, do not give it to a premature baby. And most of the children go into convulsions, a lot of them die. He'll be joining us bottom of the next hour to break down this, and we're going to air part of this interview with a registered nurse exposing it. And we're going to do more investigative reports. Because of HIPAA laws, you can get indicted, but there's got to be an investigative loophole to be able to get in, because we have sources that want to let us in, basically, to see the babies dying. And I know it's a conspiracy theory to want to save the babies, but all of you out there that worship the government and are into having faith in it, come on. They just cut the fluoride by 50%. They've ordered it removed from pesticide because the proof is it's massacring our brains, our DNA. It's giving us cancer. Evil's running the country. Let's just admit it. But see, the evil's so over the top, people don't want to admit it. Now, what else is hurting black folks that are the main test group inside this country? What else is hurting them? It's hurting everybody. But blacks, more than anybody, in places like Detroit, you name it, former industrial centers, are being annihilated by the North American Union, the TPP, the Pacific Union, the NAU, because they're all written selectively so that only globalist companies can operate, so they move overseas, or the high-tech visas come in. And by the way, the foreign workers don't have to pay taxes here. Let's go ahead and go to Obama pushing what's really doubling the black unemployment rate.
I've been very clear that TPP is good for American businesses and American workers.
Just like NAFTA?
Regardless of what China's doing. And we will make the case on the merits as to why it will open up markets for American goods,
You'll make
American
the case.
exports, and create American jobs.
Will you roll Al Gore out again, who said he invented the internet?
Defensive agreement. This is something that is going to be part and parcel of our broader.
But we're not allowed to see it.
Moving forward.
The Federal Reserve's above the law.
95% of the world's
the private corporate boards are above the law. Only the
sure
police, they have to be under their federal control. Okay, let's go to Boehner. The Republicans, by the way, are quietly supporting this, but Boehner acting like he's not for it to full constituents. Here's the Speaker of the House.
The president needs trade promotion authority to continue to try to get an agreement with the Asians on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Hillary Clinton was for trade promotion authority. Hillary Clinton is for the trade bill with the Asians. She just won't say so. And the fact is the president needs her help in order to get Democrat votes in the House and Senate to get this passed.
Do you think some House Democrats look at the split?
Boehner's on something.
She's on the ballot. I better.
Every Democrat leader
Word is he's a cokehead.
Congress is opposed to the president's position. Now listen, we've got a majority here in the House and the Senate, but we can't do this by
How many hookers a week do you think he
Now we're
gets?
going to carry the bulk of the votes.
All right, we're going to go to
trade
break.
promotion authority done for the
Again, he acts like he's for our jobs. He acts like earlier that he was against it. Now he's for it. I mean, here they come. They're both parties screwing us over.
Thank you for listening to GCN.
Let's just have a race war instead, huh? That's what they're pushing.
GCN Live.
Big second hour coming up. Boehner, who acts like he's for jobs and against shipping jobs overseas, has come out and basically said Hillary Clinton isn't going quick enough to start promoting the open borders that come along with these agreements to all these foreign goods, so they don't have to basically have any tariffs put on them, even though China and India and Mexico and others put their own internal illegal tariffs on our goods. And that's what's hurting communities across this country, regardless what color you are. I want to open the phones up in the next 30 minutes and get to other news as well. Big development on Jade Helm I haven't hit yet. And I want to hear from people that disagree. Now, in the second half and into the next hour, we can talk to folks that are on any subject. Agree, disagree, have a question, have a comment. But I want to hear from those of you out there that legitimately disagree with me. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Now, again, if you're calling on some other subject, we're not going to put you on air. Because it's hard to get to the callers that disagree because so many hundreds of calls come in with folks just don't listen to a word I'm saying. If you disagree, we're only taking those calls at first. 800-259-9231. And I really want to hear from you. I see one there that disagrees on Jade Helm. We'll see what the person has to say on that front. I wonder if they'll actually disagree with what I've said or with the straw men. Now, there's a bunch of news articles on Jade Helm today, over 100. I couldn't read them all. But if you go to Google and type in Jade Helm, there's hundreds. And you type in Alex Jones, there's about 80 today. But might be more now. I might check that. Jon Stewart mocks Lone Star Lunatics, which is an anti-Westerner, anti-Southerner. People say, Texas in the South. The left that's always embarrassed about Texas Southern roots always is ashamed of the fact that Texas was part of the Confederacy and that Texas was the gateway to the West, so it's kind of a quasi-Western / South. But just like Missouri's part of the South, and just like Louisiana's part of the South, or Alabama, or Tennessee, Texas was founded by people out of Tennessee, Alabama, and other areas. That's the original Texans were from Tennessee, Alabama, and South Carolina. And that's where almost all my family's from, except for my mother's side that were the big, Texas founders. A bunch on my dad's side, too, but we got it on my mom's side just everywhere. I mean, you name it. I'm not bragging or anything. It's just kind of ridiculous. David Ayers, William Ayers, the guys that stirred it all up and brought in the Bibles and the printing presses and got stuff going in Washington, Brazos. Put to you this way, he was going to be the first treasurer of the Republic, but he was so obsessed with not being corrupt that he would refuse to even touch the money. And then that's who Colonel Travis dropped his son off with when he went to the Alamo. But I digress. There's this demonization of Texas by folks in New York and other areas. And when I meet people from New York, they go, man, I had no idea Texas had all these laboratories and science and everybody's so cool. And I really thought you rode to work on horses. Yeah, down at NASA in Houston, and the giant refineries and the laboratories where they've invented, things like most of the cancer research and heart surgery. Because, when the Queen of England comes to Houston to have medical procedures done, or when her dad did, it's because we're so backwards. We actually drag our knuckles when we walk. Is that why I'm not knocking New Yorkers, people. I'm talking about the young people that don't know what's going on. Jon Stewart plays into that and basically calls us all a bunch of trailer trash because our state's concerned about federalization. We're going to play that coming up as well. I'm Alex Jones. Stay with us. The military admits their main enemy is the Tea Party, and we're going to force a national debate about it. But you don't want to debate the sensible stuff we said, or what Governor Abbott said when he said, we're going to, watch out for people's rights. You're going to create a distortion. Or go, we've already had a bunch of drills, so it's okay. See, they're setting the precedent. We've been having abortion for 41 years. What's the big deal? Hitler's been putting people in death camps for a long time, so it's okay. Hey, slaves were slaves for thousands of years, so what's wrong with slavery? It's an appeal to precedent. And I'm going to skip this network break so we have more time to take calls. So it's all a deception, all a psyop against you and your family. All right, I'm going to move David Knight back to the start of the next hour to get into this bombshell, how they're killing and maiming babies by design in the hospitals knowingly. Incredible hardcore eugenics, incredible breaking news at 8 after next hour. Then we're going to get Jakari Jackson and Joe Biggs to pop in for part of a segment to talk about their experiences in Baltimore, Maryland, and then their take on the other things that are happening. I want to go to your calls. We're going to go directly to John, Frank, Chris, Josh, and Mike when we hit the other side of this break. I'm not going to plug or anything first. I'm going to go right to your calls in T-minus 3 minutes, 10 seconds as we go out to break right here. There's a lot of other breaking news at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that's off the chart. The enemy's trying to suppress us. You see that. Don't take these sites for granted. Promote these stories, these videos. This is so important. Get them out to everybody. This is so important. Get them out to everybody you know now. Shove it down the throat of people like John.
We're
con artist. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go to your phone calls now, and then coming up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, racist facts, close quote, white people don't dare talk about. Another story, parents shocked at her 5-year-old, handcuffed and shackled by police, was a special needs student. Washington Post laments that Pamela Geller offers no apology after terrorists attacked her event in free speech. They're running up the white flag on free speech by design to use the threat of terror as an excuse to shut down free speech. She's saying, you endanger people when you have free speech, therefore we shut it down. Alexa caught fixing ratings to target anti-Obama news sites. We show the graphics and the proof in our internal numbers that show our ratings are going up, but they say they've gone down 70% or so. I had our graphics guy, and we're going to add him to Watson's article right now, take Drudge, InfoWars, WorldNet Daily, and show, we're going to show this a little bit later after I take calls, because we're adding the graphics now. They just finished them. We take it off Alexa.com, owned by Amazon, basically run by the Obama administration on record, and we lay them over each other, showing October 1st is the date they engaged in this behavior. So we're going to be adding those. The graphs are already there, but we've overlaid them. It's stunning. October 1st last year.